The sun bleeds across the Anatolian plains, illuminating the heart of an empire. For centuries, the Ottoman Sultanate had expanded, a relentless tide of conquest. But power wasn't solely built on armies. A more subtle, more terrifying strategy was taking root: the art of instilled fear. It was a calculated manipulation, a psychological warfare designed to cripple enemies before a single sword was drawn. This was the foundation of their dominance, a silent weapon more potent than any cannon. In the shadowed chambers of Istanbul, scholars and strategists wrestled with a crucial question: how to break an opponent's will. They studied psychology, philosophy, and the very nature of human fear. The answer wasn't brute force alone. It was the anticipation of it, the pervasive dread that clung to those who dared oppose the Sultan. This knowledge formed the bedrock of their Made Terrified campaign, a carefully crafted symphony of intimidation. Life within the empire was a constant reminder of Ottoman power. Soldiers in gleaming armor patrolled the streets, their presence a palpable assertion of authority. Whispers of past victories, of devastating defeats, circulated like rumors, shaping perceptions. This wasn't just about military might, it was about cultivating a climate of apprehension, a fear that seeped into the very fabric of society. Admiral Kadir, a veteran of countless campaigns, understood the power of psychological warfare intimately. He knew that demoralizing the enemy was often half the battle. His ships weren't just vessels of war, they were symbols of Ottoman invincibility, their sails billowing with the promise of overwhelming force. He instilled a chilling confidence in his men, a belief in their superiority, and a calculated disregard for their adversaries' morale. The construction of siege engines was not merely an engineering feat, it was a carefully orchestrated display of power. The sheer scale of these machines, the deafening sounds of their creation, served as a constant warning. Each hammer blow, each meticulously placed beam, was a message: resistance was futile. The Ottomans understood that fear could paralyze even the most courageous defenders. In the courts of conquered lands, the Ottoman emissaries were masters of manipulation. They didn't just demand tribute, they cultivated a sense of helplessness. They subtly undermined the king's authority, fostering distrust among his nobles, and exploiting internal divisions. The goal was to create a kingdom weakened from within, ripe for assimilation. Beyond the battlefield and the throne room, a network of spies and informants operated in the shadows. They gathered intelligence, spread disinformation, and amplified existing anxieties. These agents of fear were the unseen architects of the Ottoman strategy, expertly manipulating events to create an atmosphere of instability and dread. The victories of the Ottoman Empire were not just about territorial gains, they were carefully orchestrated spectacles of dominance. The images of conquest, broadcast through messengers and word of mouth, served to reinforce the message: opposition was a path to destruction. Fear was a powerful motivator, and the Ottomans understood how to wield it effectively. The influence of the Made Terrified strategy extended far beyond the immediate borders of the Ottoman Empire. It resonated across continents, shaping political alliances and influencing the course of history. The fear of Ottoman expansion became a constant factor in the calculations of European powers, a powerful deterrent and a source of endless anxiety. The legacy of the Ottoman fear machine is complex and enduring. It serves as a stark reminder that power is not always defined by brute force, but by the ability to instill dread. The echoes of their reign continue to resonate through history, a testament to the potent and often overlooked power of psychological warfare. The empire's vast reach, built on a foundation of carefully cultivated fear, eventually began to show cracks. The fear wasn't solely of armies. It was the suffocating control over trade routes, the manipulation of economies. Venice, Genoa, even the burgeoning powers of the West, felt the tightening grip. Sultan Murad IV understood that prosperity fueled power, and he wielded that knowledge with ruthless efficiency. His advisors whispered of new strategies, of alliances forged in shadows, and of a growing discontent simmering beneath the opulent surface of the empire. The whispers spoke of dissent in the provinces, of resentment towards the heavy taxes and forced conscription. Murad IV, a young sultan hardened by a turbulent upbringing, saw the cracks forming. His father's legacy was one of expansion, but also of internal strife. He was determined to consolidate power, to crush any rebellion before it could take root. He believed strength lay not just in military might, but in absolute control of information. Spies, informants, and a vast network of spies were his eyes and ears, constantly monitoring every corner of his empire. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily upon him. In secret corners of Europe, alliances were being forged. Powerful families, chafing under the Ottoman shadow, secretly funded resistance movements. They saw a chance to weaken the empire, to reclaim lost territories and secure their own interests. The diplomat, a man of considerable wealth and influence, offered promises of support, of military aid and financial assistance. The Ottoman official, torn between loyalty to the Sultan and the allure of self-preservation, listened intently. The military parade was a calculated display of power. It was a reminder to potential adversaries, and a source of pride for the Ottoman people. The Sultan watched from his balcony, his gaze sweeping over the assembled troops. Every detail, the gleaming weapons, the disciplined ranks, the unwavering loyalty, was designed to inspire awe and instill fear. But even amidst the grandeur, cracks remained. Rumors of discontent spread like wildfire, fueled by economic hardship and religious persecution. In the bustling cities and quiet villages, resentment brewed. Women, often overlooked in the power struggles of men, played a vital role in spreading dissent. They whispered stories of injustice, organized secret meetings, and provided support to those who dared to resist. This woman, a respected merchant's wife, carried a quiet strength, a determination to protect her family and her community. She was a symbol of the empire's hidden discontent. The negotiations were a delicate dance of power and diplomacy. Both sides sought to gain an advantage, to extract concessions without compromising their own interests. The Sultan, wary of European ambitions, insisted on maintaining control over key trade routes. The European representatives, determined to break the Ottoman monopoly, pushed for greater access to markets. The stalemate threatened to escalate into open conflict. In the remote mountains, rebel leaders gathered in secret. They were merchants, soldiers, and disgruntled officials, united by a common goal: to overthrow the Sultan's rule. They lacked resources and training, but they were fueled by desperation and a burning desire for freedom. Their plan was audacious, risky, and potentially suicidal. Failure meant certain death, but the alternative was unbearable. The rebellion ignited, erupting in a series of skirmishes and battles. The rebel forces, though outnumbered, fought with ferocity. They used guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. The Ottoman army, accustomed to decisive victories, struggled to contain the uprising. The fighting was brutal and bloody, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. News of the rebellion reached Sultan Murad IV, sending him into a fury. He vowed to crush the uprising with ruthless efficiency. He personally led troops to the front lines, determined to restore order and reaffirm his authority. His words were fiery, his gaze unwavering. He would not tolerate defiance. The fate of the empire hung in the balance. The final battle was fought between Sultan Murad IV and the rebel leader. A clash of wills, a struggle for the soul of the empire. The Sultan, a seasoned warrior, faced a determined opponent. The outcome was uncertain, the consequences dire. The fate of the Ottoman Empire rested on the outcome of this single, decisive confrontation. The Sultan surveyed the ravaged landscape. The rebellion's tenacity was unnerving. Casualties mounted on both sides. He tightened his grip on his sword hilt, a silent vow passing between him and the fading sunlight. Victory wouldn't be easy. The rebels fought for something more than land, they fought for freedom, for identity. Murad felt a grudging respect for their courage, a dangerous sentiment for a ruler. The empire's stability hung precariously in the balance. He needed a decisive move, a blow that would shatter their spirit. Layla knelt beside the injured soldier, her touch gentle yet firm. Her gaze held a depth of sorrow and unwavering resolve. She was the heart of the rebellion, the voice of the oppressed. She'd seen too much suffering, too much injustice. This fight wasn't about power, it was about survival, about preserving a way of life. She knew Murad's brutality, his unwavering commitment to control. But she also knew the strength of her people, their resilience, their spirit that refused to be broken. Hope flickered within her, a fragile flame in the darkness. Murad and Layla stood face to face, a chasm of conflict between them. Years of simmering resentment had reached a boiling point. Their eyes locked, a silent battle of wills. Murad spoke first, his voice a low rumble, demanding surrender. Layla met his gaze unflinchingly, her chin held high. "We will not yield," she declared, her voice clear and strong. "We fight for our right to exist." The air crackled with tension, the fate of the empire hanging in the balance of their next move. The Ottoman cavalry surged forward, a wave of steel and fury. Horses thundered across the battlefield, scattering the rebel ranks. Arrows rained down, a desperate attempt to halt the advance. The ground trembled beneath the hooves of the charging steeds. Layla's soldiers fought with desperate courage, defending their positions. But the sheer force of the Ottoman army was overwhelming. Their hope seemed to dwindle with each passing moment. "Hold the line." Layla's voice cut through the chaos. "Do not yield. We have fought too long, sacrificed too much." Her words ignited a renewed fire in her soldiers' hearts. They rallied, their spirits lifting with her conviction. They prepared for another onslaught, ready to face the Sultan's army with unwavering determination. Layla's leadership was the key to their survival. Her belief in their cause was their strength. A desperate struggle unfolded amidst the carnage. A rebel soldier parried a blow, his muscles straining. He countered with a fierce strike, aiming for a vulnerable spot. The Ottoman soldier deflected the attack, his expression cold and unyielding. The fight was a brutal dance of death, a test of strength and endurance. Each victory came at a cost, each defeat a blow to morale. The battlefield became a canvas of blood and sorrow. Murad, a force of nature, plunged into the fray. His sword moved with deadly precision, cutting down rebels with ruthless efficiency. He was a whirlwind of steel and fury, a symbol of the Ottoman Empire's might. His presence alone seemed to demoralize the rebel ranks. But Layla's soldiers refused to be intimidated. They fought with the desperation of those defending their homes, their families, their freedom. Layla faced Murad, their swords meeting with a deafening clang. The air crackled with energy as they fought, each strike a testament to their skill and determination. Murad's strength was immense, but Layla's agility and cunning kept her in the fight. It was a battle of wills, a clash of ideologies. The outcome remained uncertain, the fate of the empire hanging in the balance. With a swift maneuver, Layla disarmed Murad. Her sword pointed at his throat, she stood over him, breathing heavily. The battlefield fell silent, all eyes on the unlikely scene. Murad's face was etched with disbelief and a flicker of fear. Layla's eyes held a mixture of triumph and sorrow. "This ends now," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Murad and Layla, exhausted but resolute, agreed to parley. A council of elders gathered, representing both sides. The negotiations were tense, fraught with mistrust. But both leaders recognized the futility of further bloodshed. A fragile peace treaty was signed, a tentative step towards reconciliation. The empire was scarred, but not broken. A new era had begun. The elders watched, their faces impassive. Layla spoke, her voice clear, outlining her people's grievances. Murad listened, his jaw tight, a silent battle of wills unfolding. The treaty's terms were delicate, each word scrutinized. Doubts lingered amongst the council members. Old prejudices ran deep, making compromise difficult. A shadow of suspicion hung heavy in the air, threatening to shatter the fragile peace. The weight of their people's expectations pressed down on both leaders. Layla's resolve wavered slightly as she met Murad's gaze. The negotiations were draining, each concession a painful step. She thought of her people, their suffering, their hopes for a future free from conflict. Could she truly secure lasting peace? Murad's eyes held a similar weariness, a reflection of the burdens he carried. He too longed for an end to the endless cycle of violence. The fate of their kingdoms rested on this moment of truth. Murad countered, pointing to the contested lands. His tone was measured, yet firm, defending his kingdom's claim. The map was a visual representation of years of conflict, a constant source of tension. Layla's eyes narrowed, recognizing the strategic importance of the territory. It was a point of contention that had fueled countless battles. The debate grew heated, the council members murmuring amongst themselves. The path to peace seemed increasingly uncertain. The parley threatened to collapse. Words turned into accusations, accusations into threats. Layla stood her ground, refusing to back down from her demands. Murad mirrored her stance, unwilling to concede any ground. The air crackled with animosity, the fragile peace teetering on the brink. A sudden silence fell over the hall, the elders exchanging worried glances. The potential for renewed conflict loomed large. A small figure slipped unnoticed into the hall. A young boy, barely old enough to walk, clutching a tightly wrapped package. He moved with surprising agility, dodging the guard's gaze. His eyes darted around the room, searching for a familiar face. The package felt heavy in his small hands, a secret burden. What was he doing here? And what was inside? The boy approached Layla, his small hand outstretched. He hesitated, then gently offered the package. His eyes were wide with a mixture of fear and hope. Layla looked down at him, surprised by his presence. She took the package, her fingers brushing against his. A moment of connection passed between them, a flicker of humanity in the midst of the political turmoil. Layla carefully unwrapped the package. Inside lay a small, intricately carved wooden bird. It was a symbol of peace, a forgotten tradition passed down through generations. A wave of emotion washed over Layla. It was a reminder of a time before the wars, a time of harmony and understanding. The bird seemed to pulse with a quiet energy, a silent plea for reconciliation. Murad watched the exchange with growing curiosity. The wooden bird stirred something within him, a memory of his own childhood. He had almost forgotten the meaning of such symbols. A subtle shift occurred in his demeanor, a softening of his hardened features. The bird represented more than just peace, it represented hope. Layla looked up, meeting Murad's gaze. A silent understanding passed between them. The wooden bird had served as a catalyst, a reminder of their shared humanity. The tension in the hall seemed to dissipate slightly. A glimmer of hope emerged from the darkness. Perhaps, just perhaps, peace was still possible. A murmur rippled through the council. The sight of the wooden bird, the shared look between the leaders, sparked a flicker of hope. Discussions resumed, but with a renewed sense of possibility. The path ahead remained challenging, but the atmosphere had shifted. The possibility of a lasting peace, once distant, now seemed within reach. The future, though uncertain, held a glimmer of promise. The council chamber fell silent. The wooden bird, a symbol of forgotten unity, had rekindled a spark. Old grievances began to fade, replaced by a cautious optimism. Layla extended her hand to Murad. Perhaps, she said, her voice calm, we can build a future based not on division, but on understanding. A future where traditions are honored, yet progress is embraced. Murad took her hand, a silent agreement passing between them. The weight of years seemed to lift. A new era was dawning. Agreements were tentatively reached. A council of elders, representing all factions, would be formed. The wooden bird would be placed in the heart of the city, a constant reminder of their commitment. It wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, setbacks. But a foundation had been laid, a foundation of hope, of shared purpose. The air hummed with possibility, a quiet revolution unfolding within the ancient walls. Years passed. The city flourished. The council, though imperfect, guided its growth with wisdom and compassion. Trade routes reopened, cultural exchanges blossomed. The wooden bird, polished and gleaming, became a symbol of peace and prosperity. Murad and Layla, working side by side, oversaw the city's transformation. They had proven that even the deepest divisions could be overcome with empathy and courage. Generations grew up hearing the story of the wooden bird, a tale of reconciliation and hope. Children played around its base, learning the importance of unity and understanding. The symbol transcended politics, becoming a part of the city's soul. It represented not just the past, but the promise of a brighter future, a future built on shared respect and mutual prosperity. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the city, Murad and Layla sat hand in hand. Their journey had been long, arduous, yet ultimately rewarding. They had not only saved their city, but they had also saved each other. The wooden bird stood as a testament to their enduring love and unwavering belief in the power of unity. A legacy of peace.